Good morning. Happy Friday. If you are catching this video inside my Facebook group, it's Friday morning, 11 o'clock, and I'm really excited to talk to you briefly this morning on how to increase your chances of reaching your goals by 40%. Now, if you're inside my Facebook group catching this, you should already know who I am. If you're catching this in some other place, I want to introduce myself. My name is Dawn Lukowitz. I am a trainer, a speaker, a coach. I am the owner of Epic Redemption Coaching and the co-founder of the Clear Planner. And I want to jump right in because I want to give you as much value in as little period of time as possible and also give you some resources. We are in December. Like this year is almost over, and we're starting to get to that time of year where we reflect on 2021. We reflect on the things we did, the things we didn't do. We start to look ahead to the things that we want to do, and we start to think about, or at least hear a lot of people talk about goals and goal setting and what that all looks like. This camera is shiny on my head, and I apologize, but we're just going to roll. Okay, so if you're catching this, you probably jumped in because you said, yeah, I want to know what this secret, what this trick is to increasing the likelihood of reaching my goals. Well, before we can increase the likelihood of reaching our goals, we need to have goals, right? That makes sense. So according to research, less than 3% of Americans have written goals, and less than 1% review and write their goals down daily. Now, I've got some notes here, so I'm definitely going to be looking to make sure that we get everything in that we can, again, in a short time with a lot of value. But less than 3% of Americans write their goals, and less than 1% review them on a regular basis. That happens to me all the time. I sit down at the beginning of the year, I write out these goals, they seem excellent, and then maybe I look back at them in September because that's my birthday and that's when I start to reflect and think about goals. And I realize I didn't do anything towards any of them because I forgot about them. I didn't pay attention to them. And so I wasn't moving any closer to them. And there's some reasons that we don't write down our goals, right? And there's some reasons that we don't review them. And so we need to kind of dig a little bit deeper into that. Now, I believe in writing out long-term goals, short-term goals. I believe in writing out goals for the year, but then also goals for each month and have them somehow connect into what those yearly goals are. I'm going to share a little bit more about that in a moment, but why don't we write down goals? What stops us from doing that? It doesn't seem like it should be this long, hard, complicated process, but as humans, we don't do a lot of things that we should be doing. So Brian Tracy breaks it down into 5 reasons. The first reason that people don't write down their goals is because they're not serious about it. They don't really think about it. They don't care about it. I know that there was a very long period of time in my life where I didn't have goals. I was just complacent, content, living life. There was nothing wrong with my life. There was nothing bad about it, but there were areas that I could improve. And I think as humans, part of our needs and desires are to continually grow, right? If we're not growing, we're dying. And so we want to be growing and becoming our best self. And people talk about that and they throw that around a lot. I want to be my best self, but it's not something that they're consciously and continually working towards. And so the best way to do that is to have some goals that are specific to you. And so the first reason that people really don't write down goals is because they don't see the importance of it. They don't see the reason to even have goals. And I hope that you find a little encouragement to start thinking about setting some goals. Some long-term goals, some short-term goals. The second reason that Brian Tracy cites is we don't understand the importance of them. And I think that's where I was for a really long time in my life. I didn't see the need for them, right? Life was okay. Things were good. What did I need goals for? Well, that was also the period of time in my life where I fell into a slump and I was just going through the motions of life and I wasn't growing and I wasn't changing and I became really stagnant. And so goals are important. So people don't understand the importance of them. A lot of us don't know how to actually set goals. You hear people talk about goal setting all the time, but unless you sit down and actually learn and understand how to do it, it can be a complicated process. A friend of mine, Chris, who is my co-founder with the Clear Planner, it's something that we talked about a lot. We were both high school athletes with goals to play competitive athletics beyond high school. We both were trying for scholarships so that we could continue playing at the collegiate level. And looking back, we were very goal-driven and goal-oriented, and we did all of the goal-setting things that you learn about in personal and professional development, but we didn't realize that we were doing them back then because nobody really taught about how to set goals. They're talked about more in the abstract. So part of the reason that people don't write them down is they just don't know how to do it. A fourth reason is fear of rejection, right? You're afraid of the criticisms that you're going to get for the goals that you have. How many times do you have like this desire to do something or be something, but you're afraid of what other people are going to say? And then the fifth is that fear of failure. If we don't write it down, then you can't fail. And I know that I've felt that a lot of times. So setting goals, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it does require a little thought and a little thinking and a little bit of work. Because if you don't think about them and you don't put in a little bit of work, they're going to be arbitrary. They're not going to make sense. So when it comes to thinking about, if you've never done goal setting before, or even if you have, when it comes to looking at your goals for the new year or any time of year, we shouldn't just be goal setting in December and January. It's something that we should be revisiting on a regular basis. They're going to change, they're going to evolve, and we need to make sure that we're growing and evolving with the goals that we have and continually revisiting them and continually setting times in our year to set goals. So how do we do that? We have an exercise inside the Clear Planner. Again, I mentioned I'm a co-founder. If you want information on that, just check out theclearplanner.com. But inside, we have this exercise, and it's brainstorming. We say brainstorm we say 20, but it's recommended, set a timer and just brainstorm all of the things that you want, all of the things that you want to be better at, right? And just throw them on paper and look at all the areas of your life. And maybe you break it down: health and wellness, right? Finances, relationships, work. Break down the major areas of your life and then just write out as many things as you can. Don't think about it. Don't get complicated. Then once you have that list, prioritize and sort of narrow them down. And you really want to focus on like maybe 3 to 5 goals, not really more than that, because if you're focusing on too many different things, you're not going to be working towards anything. Now, when I say prioritize them, pull out those things that are most compelling to you long-term and pull out those things that might be accomplishing a lot of those, right? Like you're just brainstorming a whole bunch of areas, but you might find that you can create one goal that satisfies and meets and brings you closer to each of those things, right? So once you do that and you have these couple things you want to work towards, you need to turn them into SMART goals, right? SMART. If you've done goal setting before, this is not a new term for you. SMART is an acronym. I want to just briefly touch on it in case this is a concept that you're not familiar with, or it's something that you just haven't done in a long time, right? SMART goals are taking those goals that you have and making sure that you're specific, okay? A lot of people don't achieve goals because they're not specific. They just say, I want to lose weight. Okay, but what does that mean? How much weight, right? It needs to be specific. It needs to be measurable, right? Like, yes, you can measure, did I or didn't I? But you want like a number or something that's a little bit more tangible, right? I want to lose 30 pounds. Okay, so you need it to be very specific, measurable. It needs to be attainable. My goal cannot be, I want to lose 30 pounds. I don't have 30 pounds to lose. It would be unhealthy for me to lose 30 pounds, right? Or on the other end of things, for somebody that might be too big a number in too small a time, it has to be something that's actually attainable. Now, we want to set goals that are stretch goals, that are tough, right? That are beyond often what we think we're capable of, but it has to actually be attainable and realistic, something that you can realistically do, right? For me, if I want to, let's say, earn $1 million, it is not realistic for me to earn $1 million in the next 3 months, okay? So we want to be making sure that we're also realistic in that. And then the T is time bound. We want to set a time. Because if we don't set a time, then it can just sort of go. I know a lot of people that say, I want to lose 10 pounds this year, right? You need an end date goal. Well, let's start to really look at those numbers. Let's start seeing, okay, what's achievable, what's realistic, and then set a deadline, set a time that really kind of pushes us. I was talking to a friend this morning and I said, I'd gotten up a little bit later than I wanted to, and I knew that I wanted to do this training in here. And originally I wanted to do it at 11 o'clock. And then I woke up a little later and I said, I probably need more time. Maybe I'll push it off. And I said, no, I need to make it 11 o'clock. And she laughed at me and she said, you like to give yourself a little pressure. Well, yes, we all need a deadline, right? So I put it out there. Here's the deadline. And then that forces you to have to work towards it. I had to get my butt moving so that I could lay out my plan and structure and what I needed to do. And it's the same thing when it comes to our goals. If your goal is too far out in the future and you don't set little benchmarks along the way, then we tend to not take the steps we need to in order to achieve those goals. Again, that's the importance of writing it down and revisiting, okay? And when we write our goals, we want to think about that SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And we want to write them in that way. Instead of saying, it would be, instead of saying I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to lose 30 pounds by July 1st. Now, stick with me because I want to show you how to turn that into an even better goal to write down. But before I show you any of that, you want to know the magic, right? You came here because you want to know what the secret is to becoming 42% more likely to achieve your goal. Well, psychology professor Dr. Gail Matthews from Dominican University in California led a study on goal setting with over 270 participants. The results: you are 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you write them down. That's the magic. Now remember, I shared in the beginning, less than 3% of Americans actually write them down, and less than 1% review them on a regular basis. If you simply figure out what it is you want, write it down, and revisit it regularly, your chances of achieving it are going to start to increase, right? But writing your goals, and it's because writing your goals down forces you to really get clear on what you want. If you're not clear on what you want, how can you get anything? So by writing it down, it makes it clearer. It starts to get you moving in that direction. When you're writing down goals that you actually care about, you're motivated to do something towards them. And when you can see them and you can look at them, and that connection between writing and in your brain, when that is all working, you're subconsciously working towards those goals even when you don't realize it. Right? Think about when you start thinking about things and then they start showing up in your world, right? You hear the example all the time when you buy a new car, you have not seen that car in that color on the road, and then suddenly you buy it and that's all you see everywhere you go, right? It's because now you're paying attention. Subconsciously, your brain is looking for those things, and that's what happens with your goals. The process of putting your goals on paper is going to force you to start strategizing. Once you write it down, your brain has got to start to think about how are you going to actually do that? What does that look like? You're going to start asking questions about what you've been doing and what you can change. And so it's important to write them down. Now, none of it's going to matter if you don't do anything towards them, okay? I love when we hear a statistic like this and we know subconsciously our brain's working on it and we're bringing the things, but no, you have to actually take action. You have to actually take those steps, but writing it down is going to propel you forward and allow you to start taking those steps. So once you determine and write it down, you need to break those goals down into actionable items, okay? So I want to lose 30 pounds by July 1st. How am I going to do that? I need to start writing down. It might be, I'm going to hire a coach because I just don't know where to begin. That might be the first step. That's that first action item. It might be working out. I might say, okay, I need to work out 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. It might say, I'm going to start tracking my nutrition or find an accountability partner, right? You need to, once you have that goal, break it down into the different steps that you can do, steps that you can actually see progress. And those steps might change. They might evolve. In the beginning, you might set a goal and you have no idea how to achieve it. Write it down anyway. Literally a year ago today, it popped up in my memory. I had a goal to create a planner that would get published that I could get in the hands of other people. It's literally in my hand now, and it is in the hands of other people already. I had no idea how to go about it, but I knew it was a goal of mine. So when I started and I wrote down create and publish a planner, right? That was my goal. And I said create and publish a planner by the end of, right? And I set a time. I made it a SMART goal. But as far as my action steps, those action steps changed over time for me. My first action step was like, who do I know that has ever published anything? So I wrote it down. I said, make a phone call to Chris and ask him what the steps are. Okay, that was the first thing. The second action item was research how to actually create a planner, what goes into it. So as I learned, my action steps grew and changed. So just because you don't know what those steps are, write that goal down and then start breaking it down. I said I was going to tell you how to turn that I want to lose 30 pounds by July 1st into a little bit better goal. When you can tie why you want to do that into the actual goal that you wrote, a little magic is going to happen. And when you can tie it with those action steps, it adds even more magic, right? It's creating that mental image. It's drawing you and propelling you towards that. So you might change that goal into I will lose 30 pounds by July 1st so that I can ride the roller coaster with my daughter when we go to Disney this summer. I'm going to do that by hiring a coach, working out 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, increasing my water intake from 40 to 60 ounces a day. I'm going to track my nutrition, right? Like, do you see how that just turned it into something bigger? And when you wake up every morning and you look at that goal and you revisit that goal on a regular basis, your odds of reaching it have just gone through the roof. And that's the magic in that. I hope that some of these things have helped you a little bit. I would love to hear what the biggest nugget you took away from this training was, what the biggest piece or aha was for you, and maybe some of your thoughts on what you want to get a little deeper on, because these are all individual topics that can be full day trainings. So share with me kind of those thoughts. I did tell you I wanted to leave you with some resources that can help you dive and dig a little bit deeper. So I do have a goal setting guide, totally free. I will pop the link in the comments here, and when this video gets added to other places, the link will be available in a few different places. But if you go to bit.ly, so bit.ly/setting goals book, you can download a free, it's kind of a 7-day workshop goal setting guide that will break down some of this that we talked about and start getting you on the path to writing and achieving goals. I also have a Goal Crusher course that you can access. If you there's a code, it says it right on the page. It is a $7 course, but in that course, you're going to get a full comprehensive workbook, checklists, mind maps. You're going to have videos, and it's going to walk you through setting yourself up for success to crush your goals. That link is bit.ly/crush goals course. Again, I'm going to pop those links in there. The other thing that I did mention is the Clear Planner. This has been a huge guide and help. It was something I said that I created with a friend of mine in order to really help set myself up for success. When we laid this out, we did have an activity where you're actually going to brainstorm those goals like I mentioned, prioritize them into your top. We had 4 spaces because this is actually a 13-week planner. So this is like taking those big goals and bringing them down into that 3-month chunk that gives you deadlines. And then when we have you write them out in here, we have you write them out so that it asks, why do I want this? How is it going to make my life better? It's attaching that why to it, because when we have a solid why, then you're more likely to do the work, especially on the hard days. And then we also have a spot for those action items, habits, and routines that you need to do in order to achieve that. And then inside, we have the book laid out so that this is a full day. We have a spot where you can figure out what's that one thing you need to do, that one priority of the day. We have a space where you will, start the day with gratitude. What are you thankful for? A spot where you can visualize the things you want to do in the day, the wins that you plan to have, the actions that are going to take you closer to the things that you need to do. And then we have a spot in here where you can time block your day, put your schedule in there. And then, of course, the second side of the planner, for the day has a spot for extra notes, for affirmations, for journaling, and then kind of review your day at the end of the day. If you want to check that out, if you go to theclearplanner.com, there's actually a free page so you can print out one day. You can print out 7 of them and do it for the week and see what happens when you're mindful of the things you need to get done and you are intentional and take actions towards them. Again, I hope this training was helpful. I hope that if you aren't already goal setting, that you thought a little bit more about the importance, why you want to do that. And then, of course, how do we increase the chances of reaching those goals by 42%? It's going to be writing them down, but not just writing it down. Like, go through that process, make sure they're smart, make sure you lay them out with action steps. And then you need to be reviewing them on a regular basis and start taking those steps toward achieving them. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, please reach out. I'd love to talk to you about goal setting, about how to set yourself up for success in reaching and achieving your goals. I think that's it for now. Definitely let me know the nuggets that you took away, those aha moments, and then what you would like to learn more about. And have a fantastic weekend.